Hey YouTube, I'm gonna show you today how to make a perfect galette de roi. That's a French cake which is pretty simple basically. It's two layers of puff pastry and almond cream inside. It's not almond cream, it's frangipane cream, but I'm gonna make almond cream. And this cake is gonna be my version today. And it's pretty cool because you can take this cake to many places. Like you can make it very easily savory. We'll talk about it in a second. So this cake is basically two layers of puff pastry. And if you haven't seen how to make puff pastry, then go to my video. I'm going to put you a link here. Go to my video about how to make puff pastry. So two layers of puff pastry and inside frangipane cream, which is basically pastry cream mixed with almond cream. And I'm just going to use almond cream today because this is the way I like it. Alright, we're going to start with the cream, which is extremely easy. The recipe is in the description. And if you bring the camera closer, so basically what I have already scaled in this mixer, is everything but the eggs, which is butter, chunks of butter. It's kind of soft butter, room temperature, powdered sugar, almond meal, almond flour if you want to call it, and cornstarch. All right, and you just want to mix all these together until it's coherent, and then you add the eggs and you mix it again until it's completely coherent, and that's your cream. Once my cream is ready, I can already put it in a piping bag and put it in the fridge, and then we continue to the cake itself. All right, so let's mix it. I'm gonna do it on high speed, as long as it doesn't jump out, you know, just do it fast, it's better. Yeah, once it's coherent, we add the eggs, we bring it again to coherency, and that's it. Okay, so the cream is coherent. You can see its consistency. It's quite stable. It's a bit fluffy. Okay, and this is pretty much the simplest way to make almond cream. Many people start differently. They do the butter first and then the egg, add the eggs gradually. But this is simply like 100 times faster and the same result. Okay, so I'm gonna put it in my piping bag and send it to the fridge to cool down. But it will be easier this way. Okay, once your almond cream is inside, you flap the piping bag so the cream cools down in the same way. You know, you don't get a cold chunk and then uncoated chunk. So it's nice and flat, goes to the fridge. So next we're gonna start doing the cake. Now, this cake can be very beautiful or it could be pretty ugly. Depends on how you're gonna do it. At the end of the video, I'm gonna write for you the steps, exactly what to do. So it's like very organized. Okay, so before you start the actual cake, you're gonna have to prepare everything you need in advance. You don't want to start opening the dough and then, you know, going back to bring whatever you need, because the dough is gonna soften, and this cake absolutely needs fast work, right? So what you're gonna need, first of all, you're gonna need some baking parchment. Okay. You're going to need a ruler, you're going to need a knife to cut your dough. Obviously, you're going to need to roll stuff with a rolling pin. You're going to need some egg wash. I'm going to open an egg here, okay? Egg wash and a brush. And you're going to need something like this. This is just a cork, how do you say? Kak. Okay, this is like from some bottle. But you're going to need something round to make markings. You're going to understand it in a second. So I'm bringing the dough and let's start. Also, before I start the dough, I want to explain to you really quickly the measurements that we want to open the dough to, because once I start working on the dough, I got to go really fast. So the measurements are, I'm going to bring the dough, and again, if you didn't see how to make the dough, you have the link again, and this is the exact same recipe from the video that the link is on. So we're gonna open the dough to about, maybe it's the size, to about something like this, which is about 26, 28 centimeters, okay? You know, I made the diagram to be 30, but it's about 28 centimeters, and about in length, about 60 centimeters in length, okay? So, everything's ready, let's bring the dough. Okay, so first of all, when we have a folded dough, it can be croissant dough, it could be puff pastry, it could be something for crans. I don't know if you know what that is. Never mind. Whenever we open a folded dough, okay, there is a certain direction to open the dough to. Please. I will call this the width, okay? And we always start with the width. Basically what happens is, camera to me a bit more. Basically what happens is like this. When you fold the dough, okay, and you let it cool down in the fridge, butter kind of crystallizes. Well, not completely crystallizes, but it gets strong. And it crystallizes in a certain direction. Last time I folded the dough, you can see, I opened the dough to that direction, and the butter butter crystal's direction is to that direction. It will be much better for me to open the dough to this direction. This way I'm like softening the butter. Okay, if I automatically open the dough to the other direction, I will probably, unless you have a really good butter, I will probably get like broken butter. Okay, this I get from the experience of working with a lot of bad butter. Okay, so if you've been working with good butter all your life, you're probably saying, what the heck is he talking about? Believe me, when you get to work with bad butter, these things matter. Anyways, so here's the dough. I open it to the width, to about to about 26 centimeters. Okay, using a lot of force, so this will happen quickly. Okay, so I have here like 26 centimeters, right? And I'm working on the other side, making sure to flour and dust the work surface. You don't want it to stick at any point. And the final width right, of the dough is gonna be around 4 millimeters, even 4.5. So it's kind of hard to get it to be exactly 4.5, but you don't need to. If it's half a centimeter, that's okay too. You know, if it's 5 millimeters, 6 millimeters, that's okay. You're gonna soon see what I mean. Okay, so this is actually a pretty good thickness, and see, it's not falling. It's a pretty good technique this way, because this way the dough is stretching from here, you know, gravity, and stretch it from here, and it kind of relaxes into the stretch. It's the best way to work on doughs by hand. I also work with many factories, so if you have questions, you know, about moving this to the industrial level, you can talk to me also. Okay, so one thing I forgot to tell you is that you're gonna need also some kind of markings to mark your cake. And we're gonna make a kind of a roundish cake, and I'm simply using this as a marker. This is 22 centimeters exactly, but you can use any size. Well, it can't be too small, but you can use between 16 and 26. You can go all the way. So you can use your plates to mark stuff. You can use just, you know, something like that. whatever. You're gonna see the cake and you're gonna understand. Okay. Now, once I've opened the dough to my desired width, which by the way, right now it's actually a bit too thick. Yeah, you see, it's like, if you take up the camera close, it's like about, I think, 7-8 millimeters. All right. So I'm gonna make it a bit thinner. Okay, and once I actually get to the desired thickness of the dough, I don't work on it immediately. I let it rest for about 5 minutes because the dough needs to shrink. Okay, if I'm going to cut it, it's going to shrink really in a big way. So we're going to wait 5 minutes. Okay, so 5 minutes have passed and we're ready to start marking the cake. So first of all, I want to see that I have, after the dough has shrinked, I want to see that I have enough dough for 2 of these markings. Okay, check it out. It's exactly, okay, 2 of these markings. Plus, let's say, 1 finger from each side. Okay, so I mark it ever so gently. Can you see this on the camera, the mark? Okay, so really gently, and I have enough dough for the whole cake, no problem. Okay, really gently. Next thing I do, I cut it in the middle. One of these pieces of dough I'm going to work on right now, and this has to go onto, immediately, onto parchment, baking parchment, so it doesn't stick to the table. Okay. The other one, the other piece of dough, I'm gonna put in the fridge. So the fridge part is gonna be the cover, and this is gonna be the base. Okay, so now it's really simple. I bring my almond cream, right, and I'm gonna cut a hole in the bag, big hole. It's like 1.5 centimeters of hole, 1.5 centimeters of a hole, and piping my. I'm gonna make like a small kind of like a small hill, okay, of cream, and I'm gonna get to about here. So this is more or less is gonna be my cream space. You don't want to get too near to the marking itself. Let's say you want to keep like 2 centimeters from the marking itself, okay? So I start like this. I start from the middle. To find the middle, 2 fingers, this is the middle. Okay, 2 fingers, this is the middle. If you don't have any serious neurological problems, you will find the middle. Okay, so here goes. Piping the cream. So much fun. Okay, so this is the first layer, and you see I don't get too close to the line itself. Okay, and I'm gonna make another layer on the top, and I stop short before the end of the other layer, and I'm gonna continue doing this until I have a nice kind of even hill, if you will. I don't have another word for it right now. Okay, and that's it basically. Now what we do, we put some egg wash all over the pastry, and not too much egg wash. If you put too much, it doesn't stick, it kind of slides. So basically you just want to have like a bit of egg wash. Then you bring the second dough. Okay, so this is my second dough, and what's gonna be is like this. Look, when I opened the dough before, you see I opened it like this, right? And what's gonna happen, I opened the dough a lot here, so it's gonna shrink a lot there. That's how you know, gluten dough behaves. So this is gonna shrink here. Camera to the dough, not to me. So this is going to shrink here, and this is going to shrink the same way, and then we're going to get like an elliptic shape, which I don't want. I want to keep a nice round shape. So what I do is I simply flip this part of the dough a bit. That's all. And this way, this will shrink here, this will shrink there. It will stay round. Okay. You can also go like this, but this behaves better for some reason. Okay? So what you do now, you simply place it in the middle of your dough. Okay. And not using your fingers, you don't want to do like this. This destroys the layers. Do you see this? Okay, not using your fingers, using your palm, using your palms. Okay, you wanna gently press against the dough so it sticks together, but you're not pressing on the cream. Okay, so now you're gonna egg wash the whole thing. Oh, sorry, before. If you press here slightly, you can see you have a pocket of air here. Now this is bad because if you have a pocket of air, it's gonna burst the cake later. So what I wanna do is I basically wanna very gently kind of open very gently the dough, which and press, no, from here, and press gently, taking out the air and closing it back again. Okay, now I can feel I have no air bubbles inside. That's great. Maybe a bit here. So now I have no air bubbles inside. Great. Okay, so now what you do is you basically brush the whole cake. And you're gonna take something like this, and you're gonna start making markings around the cake. Now you gotta think about it like this. First, I'm gonna show you. It's gonna look like this. You see this more or less? Okay. Now you gotta think like this. Later on, when the cake is cold, we're gonna cut the markings. So you want to think that the cream is ending here, right? So you want to take about 2 centimeters away from the cutting point, because if you cut too close to the cream will come out during the baking process. Okay. So you're just gonna make your markings all around the cake, and you don't need to. You basically see I'm like using half of the sphere. Half of the screw, right? So this way I'm getting like nice kind of as if it's like flower petals or something. Okay, the cream ends here. And actually I see that I could have opened the dough a bit further, so I would have like more space to make the markings, and I'm going to make this now in the second cake. Okay. Now when you have these markings ready, you put it in the freezer, because when we cut it, it needs to be cold. Not frozen, but almost frozen. Okay, it needs to be very, very cold, the dough. Obviously, if I cut it now, everything will not cut nicely, it will be destroyed. So in the freezer. Okay, so 25 minutes later in the freezer, and it's kind of cold. It's like almost frozen. And the first thing you do again is you egg wash everything. Wow. So yeah. So once I've egg brushed the cake, what I do first is I take it off the paper. It's gonna bother me, and put just a tiny bit of flour so it doesn't stick to the surface. Okay. And what we do first is we find the middle. Again, 2 fingers, I can find the middle if I have no neurological problems. And I make a small incision to the cream. So if there's any air, any gas needs to come out, it will do it on a good way. Okay? And now what I'm starting to do the marking. So first of all, the incision went into the almond cream, but now show me. You see, now I'm gonna cut like a bit, like 2 millimeters in the dough. I'm not gonna get to the almond cream itself. Okay, so you can make markings in whatever fashion you like. Mine are like half a circle, if you can see that. And again, they're not going straight to the almond cream, okay? These are just markings. Now basically you can stop here with the markings, but the finer you make them, the prettier it's gonna be later. And this cake is all about pretty. So we're gonna make them as fine as we can. Again, the cake needs to be quite cold, because otherwise your knife is not gonna cut, but otherwise your knife is not gonna cut, rather it's gonna stretch the dough. And you see that every time I'm making a cut, I'm not making it from the middle. If I do it all the time from the middle, I'm gonna open a hole there, right? And then the cream might come out. So, right, so this is about enough for me. One more. And you can simply keep going. It's very relaxing. Okay, now what we're gonna do, we made a small incision here, so we took care of this area gas-wise, right? If there is gas, it will come out in a proper way. Now what we want to do is we want to take care of the of this area, the outside area. So what I'm doing, if you see, I take one of the incisions and one of the markings, and I make a small incision in the same kind of it's like I'm making an incision in the mark, so you're not going to see it after baking, but it is going to take care of any rogue gas that needs to come out. Alright, so that's about it. Now we're going to cut our markings from around, and again, don't cut too close to the cream. If for some reason you marked it too close to the cream, now is the time not to cut too close. And that's it. One more thing, make sure your knife is straight, not like this, alright? And when you cut, you make a cut and you lift it, and then you make another one. Like, don't do this, right? You destroy the dough, right? So make a cut, make a cut, lift it, etc. Okay, now if you're missing a small cut here, it's no big deal. You're just gonna serve the cake from the other side, and actually, even if you serve it from this side, nobody's gonna see, because the cake is gonna open so pretty on our center cuts here, on the center markings. So that's the whole thing about this cake. Okay, so oh my god, this is beautiful, but wait, I have so much left over. What a bad baker. What I'm gonna do is this. Well, I have a video about what to do with your puff pastry leftovers. You can do, on that video I show you how to make palmiers, really good caramel palmiers, and an anchovy twist, which is amazing. Anyway, I leave the link here and also in the description, right? So now this is our cake. We're gonna put it on a baking parchment, obviously, and when I lift it, one second. Okay. When I lift it, I try not to touch the sides, because all the nice layers are here. So, I try to kind of lift it from the bottom, right? And that's it, basically. It goes to the oven now. Yeah, it's also important to cut the paper, because otherwise during the baking, it can go on the cake itself and kind of bother it. So, good. Now it's basically ready to be baked. So that's it. It's gonna go into baking for a long time, 50 minutes, maybe 45, we're gonna see. 175 Celsius. And we're gonna see what happens. Stop. Now guys, what I forgot to say, and I'm gonna put it later in the description, is you gotta make your sugar syrup in advance. I just gotta really quickly apply it and put it in the oven for another 3 minutes. So this has been like 50 minutes, 50, and I'm applying the sugar syrup, which we're gonna talk about in a second, and then like 3 more minutes in the oven to kind of solidify the nice glaze and sweetness, kind of caramelize the top, all right? You can also put the sides, it'll be like very shiny on the sides if you do it. And you see the syrup is very thick. I'm going to talk about it in a second. I specifically like it thick so it doesn't like wet the cake. It just caramelizes, right? And back in the oven quickly. Woo! Yeah. 2 more minutes. Okay guys, so it's out after 2 minutes of sugar syrup. Nice layers, nice cuttings. Before I cut it open, I'm gonna let it cool down, otherwise it's not real. And I'm gonna try and serve it with some creme anglaise, or in your case, because I'm not showing you how to make creme anglaise right now, so in your case you could just take some melted vanilla ice cream. And now camera to here, and now basically you can make so many variations of this cake. I already shared with you the savory variation. I think it's amazing. The important thing about making this cake is the technique. After you have the technique, you can pretty much do whatever you want. I really like putting in this almond cream, pre-baking, I like putting inside, how is it called? Amarena cherries, which is basically, I'll put a link in the description also exactly what it is. It's basically a very sweet alcoholic cherry, and then when you slice it open, it's perfect. So you can make many variations with it. Also very important, the amount of layers I did here, because in the video where I show how to make the puff pastry, I make certain folds, and for this I made 4 single folds, alright, which means 1 single fold, 2nd single fold, resting time in the fridge, minimum half an hour, and then another 2 single folds. And for this cake I used hard flour, which is much harder to roll with your rolling pin, but it's possible, obviously. And you can also use all-purpose flour, which will be fine, and your cake will be a bit lower, right? It'll also be very nice. So I'm gonna cut it in a bit. One thing I do want to say, I'm giving you all this information. I have no secrets. It will be very helpful to me if you subscribe, like, and share, or maybe even share, like, and subscribe. Basically, this is the only thing that I can get from you. And we're gonna cut it now. Nice, crispy. This is what happens with this specific cream, and many people use different creams, and you're gonna see differences between them. This one is like more a wet cake kind of, okay? And when I serve it, I absolutely always serve it with creme anglaise, okay, on the top. So that's the galette de roi. Enjoy, guys. Well, guys, this is the galette de roi. I'm gonna taste it so you can, you know that it's not poisonous, because I mean usually I don't taste this stuff, but what the heck. Yeah. Probably not very sexy, but very good. Share, like, subscribe. See you next video.